Hey guys, my name is Richard Ryan, and it's finally time to begin my first Let's Play Super Mario Bros. 2. Now, last time I tried to record this game, it didn't go right, and we got some really interesting results. But this time, we're gonna do it legit. We're gonna beat the whole game. I was going to play this on my original NES, but I decided to switch to the Wii because... I don't know why, but the capture was picking up some really weird after images in the background, and I couldn't figure out why that is. I'm gonna have to research a little bit and see if I can get a new AV adapter. So, for now, we're gonna be playing NES games on the Wii. Hopefully that's not too big of a problem, but they're pretty much identical anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, Super Mario Bros. 2. I decided to do this as my first Let's Play because I really like this game, and it's one of my favorite NES games and one of my favorite Mario games because of how weird it is. It wasn't intended to be a Mario game, but I'll get into that in a bit in case you don't know about that. So, I'm here to play through the game in full. Hopefully, you guys will learn something about it if you've never heard of this game, or it'll just be a fun ride if you do enjoy this game. Now before we begin, this game does have a story, and basically, the story is that Mario has a dream where he hears a voice that tells him he's in the land of Subcon, and an evil frog king has kidnapped the inhabitants, called the Subcons, and plans to take over the world.
Of course!
Then when Mario wakes up, he goes to have a picnic with his friends, Peach, Toad, and Luigi. Sadly, Luigi has been demoted to friend. He can't even be a brother. It's very sad. But they all tell him they have the same dream. Then, for some reason, they find a cave nearby and decide to go into it. And suddenly they're in Subcon, and that's where the adventure begins. But enough dilly-dallying on this title screen, let's actually jump into it. So this game has 4 playable characters. We got Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Peach, called Princess in this game. Every character has their own attributes. I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but for now, let's just pick Luigi and begin. So what makes this game weird and different from other Mario games is, well, it's still a platformer, but there's one big difference. When you try to jump on enemies, nothing happens. Instead, if you press the B button, you can pick them up and throw them. You can do the same with these roots, and they unearth items. And that is basically the majority of combat in this game, is picking up stuff and throwing it at enemies. Or even picking up enemies and throwing them at other enemies. It's a really fun mechanic, and these vegetables that we're picking up are not the... Oh, whoops. These vegetables we're picking up are not the only things that we can find. We can also find other items. Such as... this! A magic potion! Drop a magic potion on the ground, it unearths a door, and when you go inside, you go into subspace. There are 2 important items in subspace. Number 1 is coins. Any roots you pick up in subspace become coins, and they are used at the end of a stage for a bonus game where you can get 1-ups. We'll get to that after we beat the stage, of course. The other important thing is mushrooms. In this game, mushrooms give you an extra hit. You have 3 hearts in this game, and when you run out of hearts, you die and you lose life. So very useful items in subspace. Try to go to subspace whenever you can, and that's not a problem at all because there's plenty of places to find subspace. Just make sure you find one of those magic potions. Now when going up here, we have 2 paths. We can either go to the left or right. If you go to the left, it's actually a shortcut to the boss, so I'm gonna go here instead. Here's another magic potion. And this is another spot where a mushroom is. I believe there are 2 mushrooms in every level. I don't know where all of them are, but I'll try to get most of them. One last thing I should mention about Subspace is that when you get coins from the roots, you can only go to Subspace 2 times before the roots just stop producing coins. So you want to be careful about where you pick up roots when you're in Subspace. Because you might be in Subspace one place where you pick up like one root and it gives you 1 coin, as opposed to waiting and going to what might be your 3rd Subspace trip, which has an opportunity for like 5 coins. And here we have our first boss, Birdo. All you gotta do is pick up Birdo's eggs and throw them back at him. Now, Birdo's a really interesting enemy. A really interesting character in general in the Mario series, because the instruction booklet for this game straight up says that Birdo is a guy who pretends to be a girl, which would explain his feminine looks. Anyway, here's our bonus chance. Yep, so once you beat Birdo, just pick up that crystal sphere, it opens up the hawk mouth, and you're done with the level. Now the bonus chance is a slot machine game. If you get 3 pictures in a row that are all identical, you get an extra life. However, hang on. If you get a cherry... Oh, wow. I actually got 3 in a row. If you get a cherry on the first slot... Come on. Okay, never mind. We'll get it later. If you get a cherry on the first slot, you will always get a 1-up. So, it's actually better to go for a cherry rather than a 3 in a row. And even more beyond that, if you get 2 cherries in the first 2 slots, then you get a 2-up, and if you get 3 cherries in a row, you get a 5-up. So even back then, Mario games handed out 1-ups like crazy. So, hopefully I'll get to show that off more in this next level after we beat it, because we're going to get a ton of coins here, and I'll show you why in a second. So we're going to pick Luigi again. I swear I'll pick another character other than Luigi. He won't hog this entire playthrough, I promise. But he's just got a lot of parts in this game down. There's just so many parts that are really made easy with Luigi. And it's why he's one of my favorite characters in this game. We'll open up Subspace again. I probably should have gone for the mushroom first, but that's alright. Oh, just barely. Yeah, Subspace is on a time limit too, so if the Mario song gets to a certain point, then you're automatically kicked out. You can press down on these vases to go inside them, and that's especially useful for this one. Because this vase has these guys, Phantos. And they are guarding this little key here. Pick up the key, and this one comes alive and starts to chase you. And he will never stop chasing you until you let that key go. If you pick it back up again, he'll start to chase you again. And all you gotta do is bring it to the door before he catches you. But I'm gonna use that key on the door, but I want to show something off first. If you hold down for a little bit, you'll start to flash. And if you jump afterwards, you do a super jump. Every character can do this, but Luigi, since he's got the highest jump, can go super high. And that allows you to get up here and skip an entire portion of the level. Although, I'm going to avoid doing skips for right now, and we're just going to play this, like I said at the beginning, legit. Got a Starman, nowhere we can really use it though, so it's kind of useless, but that's alright. Another item we got here, bombs. They blow up these rock blocks. You're gonna want to blow them up here, not only so that you can move on to the next area, but also because that route next to the ladder is a magic potion. And that magic potion leads to, you guessed it, another mushroom. And if we didn't blow up those rocks before setting up subspace, we would miss out on that mushroom. Now, going back up to this platform, I can show you where we would end up if we use that skip. This is another magic potion. And since I didn't grab any coins in the last trip to subspace, we can now get a ton of coins here. 7, in fact, bringing our grand total up to 10. And it looks like you can get even more, too, those last two, if you set it in just the right spot. So that's really useful. Time to fight Birdo again. This is pretty much how every first level is in each of these worlds. Each of the first 2 levels. You fight Birdo at the end, and that's pretty much it. While I'm fighting Birdo, I will go over what makes each character unique. So, the characters' differences are based on 3 different statistics. Jump, speed, and strength. Jump and speed are pretty self-explanatory. As for strength, that is based on how fast a character can pick up an item. Luigi is not very strong, so therefore he can't pick up an item super fast. Strength also determines how your jump height is affected when you're carrying an item. So once again, for a high jumper like Luigi, his jump is actually affected a lot when he's carrying an item. So like I said, if you get a cherry on the very first one, you don't need to worry about getting 3 in a row, unless you really want to, because you'll get a 1-up anyway. Although, during this particular recording, I'm doing a really bad job. Still, we have 7 lives, so that's nothing really to complain about. 2nd lives. So, now that I've explained the statistics, let's go over the characters. Mario is the well-balanced character. He's basically the character you want to start out with if you're playing the game for the first time. He's not the best, and he's not the worst. Luigi has the best jump in the game, but he's lacking in his speed and strength. Toad is the exact opposite, where he has the lowest jump, but he's really fast and really strong. And Peach is basically Luigi without the super high jump. Hers is actually worse than Luigi's, but what makes her unique is that if you hold the jump button, you can float with Peach, giving for good distance when trying to cross platforms. My 2 main characters are Luigi and Toad, because I never really got that much use out of Peach's jump, and Mario's basically the most useless character in the game. Oh, get over it. So, we're going to jump into this 3rd level with Toad. We're actually going to mix it up a little bit. I could finish off the whole world with Luigi, but we gotta give him some screen time. If you do a super jump off of that, hawk mouth, you can make it up here and get a couple cherries. Oops. Oh, come on. The difference between the pink enemies and the red enemies is that the pink enemies don't fall off of platforms. They walk back and forth, so they will never fall off. Oops. I actually meant to pick up this one, because, once again, it brings us to subspace. Now, I would not pick up a cherry in subspace because sometimes, if you get enough cherries, the Starman will spawn in subspace, and if you don't grab it in time, then, well, it's gone. That is one thing I forgot to mention. If you collect 5 cherries at any time in a level, a Starman will appear and make you invincible. So, now, we got these 4 plants, which all have these fully grown turnips. If you grab 5 at any level, the 5th one will always be a stopwatch. And the stopwatch, once again, is pretty self-explanatory. It stops all the enemies on screen. Now that platform with the stopwatch also has a mushroom if you bring subspace there, but I would only really go there if I was Luigi, so we'll get some coins instead. We're kind of low on coins anyway. Another thing is that if you bring subspace here to this vase and go inside it while in subspace, it's actually a warp zone to World 4. So you can get really far in the game right off the bat. But none of that matters now because we are now in the castle. Now here's the other cool thing about this game is that with the throwing and picking up mechanics, it's not just used for combat. You can also use it for picking up those mushroom blocks and using it for platforming. And it's also the same thing with bombs by blowing up certain paths to get where you want to be. And we'll be using the mushroom blocks quite a bit in later levels. These Sparkies, don't touch them. They are not to be jumped on or they'll electrocute you. And once you grab this key, you want to fall down this path specifically, because then you won't be bouncing back and forth on those platforms on the other side, and you can get through a lot smoother. And there we go. He didn't even catch up. Wow. We completely outran that Phanto. Go us. And another Starman. The guy actually jumped over me. What a jerk. Oh well. Once we pick up that crystal ball, we go into the Hawk's Mouth, but we're not quite done yet. We still have the boss of this world. First, let's clear a little bit of a path here. And here he is, Mauser! So the deal with Mauser is that he's constantly throwing bombs, and all you gotta do is set the bombs in just the right spot so that he... Oops. So that he runs into them when they blow up. And wow, I actually managed to live. I totally thought I was gonna die. And that is going to lead us into the next world. We're gonna go ahead and do this slot machine. And fail miserably. Awesome. Wow, I cannot get the timing on the cherries to save my life. Well, we got one. Yay! Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to work on that, but that's okay. Now, I'm looking at my time, and it says that we've been going on for about 19 minutes. And I honestly didn't expect that for this game, but I think that is actually going to be a good place to stop for this particular episode. But we will come back very soon. Heck, I might even upload the second episode in the same day. So, next time on Let's Play Super Mario Bros. 2, we're gonna jump back into World 2, which is a desert level. We'll see how that goes. See you guys next time!